If you enjoy the content on this channel, please like and subscribe.
Twisters is a 2024 American disaster film directed by Lee Isaac Chung from the screenplay by Mark L. Smith, based on a story by Joseph Kosinski. Serving as a standalone sequel to Twister, released in 1996, it stars Daisy Edgar-Jones, Glen Powell, Anthony Ramos, Brandon Perea, Maura Tierney, and Sasha Lane. It follows clashing groups of storm chasers who investigate a tornado outbreak in Oklahoma. Twisters premiered at Leicester Square in London on July 8, 2024, and was released internationally by Warner Bros. Pictures on July 10th, and in the United States by Universal Pictures on July 19th. It received generally positive reviews from critics and has so far grossed $334 million worldwide. In 2020, Joseph Kosinski met with Amblin Entertainment and Kennedy Marshall Company to pitch a follow-up to the 1996 film Twister, revolving around a new generation of storm chasers. In June 2020, Universal Pictures announced it was meeting with writers to develop the reboot, with Frank Marshall attached as producer and Kosinski in early negotiations as director. Around the same time, the studio rejected plans from Twister actress Helen Hunt to direct a sequel. That version, written by Hunt, Raphael Cassel, and David Diggs, who collaborated on the television series Blindspotting, would have followed all black and brown storm chasers, members of a rocket science club at a historically black college and university. In October 2022, Amblin, Universal and Warner Bros. Met with directors for Twisters, a sequel being fast-tracked for an early 2023 production start after Steven Spielberg, an executive producer on the original film, expressed enthusiasm from a script by Mark L. Smith. Kosinski then dropped out of the project to direct F1, which will be released in 2025. The studio reportedly wanted Hunt to reprise her role, with the hopes of a story focusing on the daughter of her and Bill Paxton's characters from the original film. In December 2022, Lee Isaac Chung was hired to direct a now standalone sequel. Chung's pitch to Marshall and Spielberg included a presentation that intercut footage from Twister and his own Minari, a semi-autobiographical indie drama that cost $2 million, specifically a scene in which the characters experience a tornado watch. Chung credited his time at Lucasfilm directing an episode of The Mandalorian as allowing him to get used to working with visual effects, and noted growing up in Tornado Alley as an inspiration. In preparation for Twisters, he revisited the original film, Spielberg's Jaws and War of the Worlds, described by him as movies with powerful forces of nature or monstrous things coming at you or looming above you. Chung was inspired to approach Glen Powell for the lead role after seeing an appearance of him on an episode of The Morning Show, namely Today. Powell was contacted while filming Anyone But You, which was being filmed in Australia. He had to do a chemistry read with Daisy Edgar-Jones over Zoom. Edgar-Jones suggested that her character Kate have a camera in reference to the documentary Fire of Love about volcanologists Katya and Maurice Croft. The character was partially inspired by Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Cast members attended a weather boot camp to learn about tornadoes from meteorologists and storm chasers. The program was organized by meteorologist and former NOAA analyst Kevin Kellner, a technical advisor on both Twister films. Paxton's son James has a cameo as a motel guest who tries driving away from the tornado. In order to honor the original Twister film, the film was shot on a Kodak 35mm on location in Oklahoma. Lee Isaac Chung said that a large part of the decision came from wanting to capture the natural, vibrant colors of the state. Glen Powell's actual parents appear in this movie, sitting behind him and Daisy Edgar-Jones during the rodeo scene. According to Glen Powell, his parents have appeared in all of his movies since Spy Kids 3D, released in 2003. Bill Paxton had tried to get a sequel to Twister off the ground for years. After seeing the success as the director of films like Frailty, Paxton wanted to direct a modernized telling of the 1925 tri-state tornado that took the lives of 695 people. Paxton, with the help of producer James Cameron, also wanted the film to have an MPAAR rating and maintain a realistic depiction of the damages that real tornadoes cause, and planned for it to be shot in 3D. The film at one point had an unofficial schedule date for the summer of 2012 under the title Twister 3D, but it was ultimately cancelled due to budgetary concerns, and years later by Paxton's death in 2017. A water tower of El Reno is shown as a tribute to the El Reno tornado on May 31, 2013. 3 members of the Twistex team, Tim Sampras, Paul Sampras and Carl Young, died in the El Reno tornado. Midway through filming, director Lee Isaac Chung suffered exhaustion and was medically forced to leave production for 2 weeks. Director of photography Dan Middle stepped in to direct during that time. At the rodeo, Kate is wearing the same outfit as Helen Hunt's Joe Harding in Twister. The New York City scenes were actually shot in downtown Oklahoma City, which was dressed up to look like Manhattan. Production was originally going to take place in Los Angeles, before it was decided by director Lee Isaac Chung, who had grown up in the Midwestern United States, that the film should be shot on location in Oklahoma. similar to Twister 1996, where director on that film, John DeBont, demanded that the film also be shot in Oklahoma and threatened to leave the production if it wasn't. As Dorothy 5 is unveiled, the majority of the labels are the same as the labels in the original Twister, even though all 4 Dorothys were destroyed in that film. The film originally had a budget of $120 million, but that ballooned to $200 million after production faced several setbacks, including the COVID-19 delays and 2023 writers' strike. The Stormpower vehicles are named Lion, Tin Man, Scarecrow and Wizard, as a reference to the Wizard of Oz, in which Dorothy's house is transported to Oz by a tornado. Originally, Jodie Comer was considered for the lead role, but she dropped out due to settling conflicts. A scene was cut of Kate and Tyler kissing. Director Lee Chung said that the film should be more about storm chasing and that Tyler and Kate have a bond based on their mutual passion of tornadoes rather than a romantic interest. The producers of Twisters consulted with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration during development, with the federal agency contributing logos and props. The agency added its contribution to the scientific accuracy, with only reflected in some parts of the film. A scientific review in the New York Times pointed out impossibilities with the film's mechanism for dissipating tornadoes, observing that the method suggested would require many tons of chemicals used and require a much longer period in order to do so. A professor at Texas A&M University also remarked it's highly unlikely that the small-scale methods depicted in the movie would have any real impact on tornadoes. An article in Wired noted that twin tornadoes featured in the film do occur in real life. Writer Margaret Renkle criticized the film for not mentioning the link between climate change and the increasing frequency and intensity of tornadoes. Despite Smith's intent for the screenplay to incorporate the effects of climate change, Chung explained his decision to avoid explicitly referring to climate change as wanting to make sure that we are never creating a feeling that we are preaching a message. Now, I found Twisters to be a good, well-made disaster movie that exceeded my expectations. I went in somewhat skeptical, thinking it would be another by-the-numbers disasters movie. But what you find here from director Chung is a quite deep, layered and nuanced story. And I found the film to be overall based in reality and fact, albeit that maybe some of the science is a bit stretched. Look, tornadoes are very real, destructive pieces of nature. I've always been astounded by how humanity can control so many aspects of the world, except of course climate and weather. And tornadoes are one of the most vicious and destructive forces, causing huge damage to property and life, particularly in the Midwest of the United States. This film, I feel, captures how dangerous they can be, how awe-inspiring they are, and how these storm chasers risk life and limb in order to understand these tornadoes so much better. The cast are very good here and more than competent. I'm a big fan of Daisy Edgar-Jones, particularly her performance in Normal People, and I do find it somewhat hard to believe her as now a Midwestern girl, all American and growing up in the heartland of the United States. She brings believability to her performance with her emotional depth, but maybe she isn't perfectly cast in this role. Where on the other hand, I really found Glen Powell to be particularly likable. He has a lot of panache and star charisma, and I could definitely see him being a leading man. He's one of those actors though that will define his career based on being a star rather than being a character actor. Their chemistry is believable, but the film really isn't about that. It's really about the tornadoes. The CGI is well done, and having Kate lose some of her friends at the start just adds another layer to this film. It creates stakes, as it were, and makes you realize just how dangerous these Twisters can be. Look, is this a groundbreaking film? No. Does it really compare well to the 1996 film Twister? I wouldn't say it does. But in saying all of that though, it's a good, entertaining, big-budget disaster movie. And at the end of the day, it delivers on what it's supposed to, which is providing you with good escapism. Groundbreaking it is not. A film that I'll remember like I did the original? Probably not. But it's good, old-fashioned entertainment revolving around a very real and dangerous natural occurrence. Twisters gets an 8 out of 10.